What if you were the living embodiment of all pervasive peace? What if all sentient beings all around you increase their vibration towards harmony by merely being in your contact? What if, through conscious reasoning, focused will, and intentional living, you reform yourself, thereby becoming a catalyst in sparking transformation in others? I'm Shilpa Lewis, meditation, mindset, and mindfulness coach for midlife mompreneurs, and you are listening to Omnipresent Awareness, the podcast that will inspire you to use your story to serve humanity in not just healing, but thriving as souls, each fulfilling their highest purpose. Welcome to Omnipresent Awareness with Shilpa. This is your host, Shilpa Lewis, owner and founder of Omni Mindfulness Coaching. Before we get started, if you haven't already booked a free discovery session with me, click on the link in the description. I'm a holistic transformational life coach, specializing in helping midlife mompreneurs bring balance, clarity, and life alignment both personally and professionally, so that you may live your best life. There is tremendous healing value in simply being able to know someone is holding authentic space for you to listen and be accessible as an accountability partner and mentor. If you feel overwhelmed, or if you feel the need for some support navigating life as a mother or as an entrepreneur, I would love to provide you with my coaching. If any anecdotes from the stories of the guests from this episode or any of the podcast episodes resonate with you, or if you find any value at all from the content from these episodes, then consider booking a free discovery call with me. Together, we can manifest my vision to be instrumental in the biggest rise in consciousness and awareness and human transformation. And now, here is today's episode. And now, a conversation recorded with my partner in awareness, Tanya, from our joint podcast, Mindful Mompreneur Moments. And oh yeah, if you could, please listen to the very end of the podcast for powerful insights from our guest. Thank you. Next up, Gail Nott. Gail is a business coach and co-founder of Lift, a coaching accelerator for solopreneurs. She strategizes with purpose-driven business owners to create a personalized client generation process that saves time, shares their message, and allows them to create their legacy without sacrificing their family life. She is an expert at building a business around your life instead of the other way around, with over 20 years of experience in marketing, sales, and personal development. In her free time, Gail enjoys playing and taking care of her young daughter and reading business and personal development books, as well as homesteading and camping in her RV with her husband and daughter. And now, here's Gail. Greetings, Gail.
Hello.
Again, thank you so much for joining us, Gail, on this month's edition of Intentional Living. And because we're talking about intentional living, we're going to jump into the questions right away by starting off asking you if you could share with us what intentional living means to you, and more specifically, how you how your initiative as co-founder of Lift contributed to your intentional living, and perhaps also let us know what Lift is.
Oh, sure. Thank you for having me here. And it's a great question. It makes me really think about the opposite of that, when I wasn't living intentionally, because there was a major shift in my life just before becoming a mom, and I do believe that's one of the reasons why I did become a mom, was wasn't living intentionally. I think I was living to other people's expectations, and I thought that was what I wanted as well, and maybe it was. And yet I kept failing at what I thought success was supposed to be like. And it wasn't until I had a falling out with a friend who embodied that style of living that when we had a falling out, I realized, oh, I think we just value different things. And she's a wonderful person. She's warm hearted and lovely. We just value different things. And me being in that circle of friends, because I do believe that old adage of that you can be the sum of the people around you, or at least you're influenced by the people around you. When I removed myself from that circle and just had time for myself and really thought, well, what do I want and what do I want my life to be like? I was able to reboot my business and my life and my marriage and really get back into really living my values, because I believed in freedom. And what exactly does that mean to me? And it wasn't just freedom of what we experience in the United States as freedom, but more of freedom of choice, freedom of space, like having more space in my calendar, space in my life to just and enjoy and be, rather than always having to do. I think I lived in that mantra of that I was a doer. I had my whole image of myself wrapped up in who I was as a business person and as a woman. And it was all wrapped up into what I did versus just of who am I? And that's who I am. I don't know if that really makes sense, but it just, this big pause in my life to let go of that. And I convinced my husband, who's very much a homebody, that we should sell all our things and move into an RV and travel the country. And so we did. We left the company we were coaching for. We sold everything. We moved into an RV. And then that's when I finally got pregnant. After almost a decade of trying, it was like I had to let go of everything and free myself up to have this opening for a child in our life. My husband was a little skeptical because by then he was 50, but I was set that, finally she's here.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
happening.
Yeah, that idea of letting go and just kind of having faith that things will go the right way once you freed yourself of certain blocks. It's amazing, you know. I like to think of it that way. She came as a blessing after you've done the cleansing that you needed to do. She was just
Mm-hmm.
at the right time.
Yeah, she definitely did. I feel so much more present and so much more calm, which is definitely helpful with a 2.5-year-old who's
Yeah.
very strong-willed. And I love that about her, but it can be challenging. I'm really glad that we have the space in our lives to be here for her and to be present
Right.
for her.
That's so interesting when you mentioned the term identity. I recall years of my true identity was all revolved around my role, my title, my this, my that. And it wasn't until I started to really pause in my own marriage and realize I'm happy and I don't even actually think about work as my source of happiness anymore and that role. And I started to free up some energy emotionally. That's when Omni was born or conceived.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But I wanted to share. So we have that in common. Like I wasn't, I was very focused on career, and it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I had my son. Could you share with our audience your journey from being an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
a mompreneur, and from my understanding, you had chosen the path of being an entrepreneur from a very long time. It wasn't
Right.
from corporate to
No, I was a horrible employee. I was the one who showed up late and left early and gave attitude if there was nothing to do. That drove me nuts. I enjoy work and I enjoyed my work, but if I didn't have anything to do and it felt pointless, I felt like there was a waste of waste of my time, which is probably not what you really want in your employee, but it just wasn't for me. I first started off as a freelancer. I was a website programmer, and back in the late 90s, before the dot-com crash, it was easy to find work as a freelance programmer. Of course, that crash happened, and that gave me another reason to pause and reflect and see what I really wanted to do in my life. And I explored different types of careers. I I tried being a website designer for small businesses. That wasn't my fit. I became a massage therapist. That was my calling for a little while. And I grew my practice into a wellness center. And I really loved marketing. So at the other recession in 2009 ish, 2010, I pivoted again to focus on social media marketing, which kind of led me towards my path with business coaching. And I was just doing my thing. I had my first my massage practice and then my social media business, coaching business. And at a certain point, I had, you have this conversation with your partner. You're like, are we ready? I think we're ready. Okay, let's start trying. And you try and you try. And I know so many people have experienced this where you get disappointed every month and it's so heavy and so hard. And I have friends who experienced other hardships, and I felt like I don't know if I could go through that of that process. And at a certain point I kind of gave up or maybe surrendered. And I have great nieces and nephews and other kids in our family, and I became the awesome auntie who would pick them up from school and take them out to the park or take them to the museums and get them really tired and then give them back to the parents.
That is an
And
awesome auntie.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. That's what I did in my free time. What's great about being a business owner is you could, hopefully, if you've got the systems in place and all that kind of stuff, is you can set your schedule. So I set my schedule around the kids' school schedule and was able to help out my sister and her husband as well by helping take care of the kids. And I love doing that. And it wasn't until, like I mentioned, we decided to travel. I left the coaching business I worked for and started our own coaching business. And that's when we founded Lift, which is an online coaching community. And Lift stands for Learning, Inspiration, Freedom, and Transformation, four of our values that we hope to instill and empower in our clients. And we built it online like a membership kind of thing and had group coaching over Zoom before Zoom was cool. So that we could, yes, help more people, but also we wanted to travel. So as long as we had internet, we could support our clients, and then that gave us our freedom. And then now with everything going on the last couple of years, it's been a benefit to that we were already there.
Now, are you still in your RV?
No, we moved into a house. It gets a little harder when they start moving. When the kids start moving, when they're just a baby, they lay still sort of. It's easy. But when they start crawling and walking, they want some room to move around. And I know there are a lot of families who do it with kids of all ages. But for us, with her changing needs, as well as we had some older family members that needed support, that we decided to move back into a house. But we did get a smaller trailer for weekend trips, and that's been a lot of fun.
Oh, nice. You seem to be like the epitome of living with intention. It just sounds like you're so family oriented, and the fact that you choose something that becomes a career that revolves around family, basically, because you want that time with them. So it's remarkable. It's really nice. Thank you for sharing that with us. So after the transition into the mompreneur role, could you share with our audience how to live with intention and find a life of purpose?
That This is a great question. Is I remember, I mean, it's partly a blur. It's only been 2.5 years, but I remember after a month after she was born, I was starting to miss my old self. So that's that transition of who am I now? Of okay, I'm not that doer. I'm not that hustler business person always on the go. I want to be here and home and attached to this little baby all the time. At the same time, I missed who I was. And then my brain wasn't functioning. It still doesn't function as well. My brain wasn't functioning as well as it used to. I like words still are hard to come out. But I felt like who am I if I couldn't think anymore? Because I couldn't think. It was only a month after giving birth, and I didn't really know who I was. Um, so going through that process of finding purpose and identity, I think it's a great time to have compassion for ourselves because we've gone through this major transformation, whether it's a biological birth or a different type of bringing in a child into your family. It's a huge transformation in your life, and now you have another role. So I was just me for 42 years. And now I'm a mommy, and I've only been a mommy for 2.5 years. So it's a transition, and I think it's important for us to have compassion for ourselves. Important to find community with other parents, other moms who are going through the same thing. It honestly helps being an older mom. It helps to find older moms. It's kind of a fact of life. I'd like to think that their age is just a number, but they're just different experiences that we have. When you get Facebook ads for giving birth and then Facebook ads for a mammogram at the same time, you're in a different field. You're in a different stage of life. I do think it's funny. I mean, my mom, when she was my age, I was going to college, and my mom, when I'm now that age, I'm potty training. It's just amusing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so different. And yeah, it does give you a sense of purpose when you're able to connect with other moms and give advice or share, it's a beautiful
Hmm.
thing.
It's
Yeah.
interesting, though, that even physiologically, I'm sure that younger mothers have the agility that I don't. I mean, I remember going back to the gym and really pushing myself hard. I'm like, I need to be strong because I've got a little one.
Yeah. 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 I've been more aware of I started doing yoga again because I want to maintain that flexibility or get that flexibility back so that we can play on the ground and I can lift her up and no problem. I'd like to think I have the same amount of energy as I did when I was 20. That's probably not true. But I still feel that I'm still full of life, and she's gonna keep me young, and we're having fun. It's really fun to see the world in through her eyes.
You know,
Yeah.
one thing for sure is that I can resonate with the way you've described the journey of becoming an old. I don't want to say the word older. It's so subjective, the age.
Hmm.
Um, just coming at it from the perspective, I want to be more present. I have the wisdom to know what it means to be more present.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So last question: how do you integrate? It sounds like you mentioned yoga, but how do you integrate mindfulness modalities into not only your everyday life but your work? And can you give
Hmm.
examples for moms and mompreneurs that are listening to you?
I One thing that's different from who I was before is that because I'm not always on the go, that I'm able to pause and reflect. And I get 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours of babysitting 2 to 3 days a week, depending on the schedule. And sometimes I'll spend a whole afternoon just planning. And there's a little part of me that's just like, are you wasting your time? Shouldn't you just spend this time doing your marketing, your sales and things like that? But it gives me the space to reflect and visualize, I'll spend time doing yoga while I have babysitting. There's that little part of me like, shouldn't I just get right into work and hop into the laptop? But I feel like it's part of my work routine. So I'm very lucky and very blessed that my mother's a wonderful babysitter, and she's downstairs as we speak. So I go upstairs and I have this little routine. I roll out my yoga mat and do my yoga routine, and I'll do affirmations and visualization and meditation within that routine. I don't do it for very long because there's that still part of that little go-getter of me that wants to go, go, go. So anywhere for 5 to 20 minutes, maybe if I'm really feeling it, 30 minutes. It's not a long routine, but it works for me. Come in. I love my journal. I'll write in my journal. I'll reflect on my vision and what I want to bring into the world. And then that helps me set the day, my work day or work afternoon, whatever it is that I've got, to focus on what's really going to make a difference in my business and what's really going to make a difference in my clients' lives through those actions. I want to really avoid busy work or doing things just because everyone else is doing it, and feel really good about that. So if I can do like these 1, 2, 3 items in my business that are those big pivot points in my business, then I did a great job's work. And then at closing time, which depends on the day, close up that laptop, and then it's back to the baby and going through our night routine with her. I love that as well.
And that is so wonderful that you brought in those skills that was probably part of you, like the planning, but now you translated that into how to plan it so I'm more intentionally present with my daughter. And she'll learn from you. She's watching now. She knows how to be able to now approach her own career with that mindfulness.
Yeah, and Gail, I love how you express how important it is to do what's good for you, like, and not be hard on yourself. I think that takes that kind of mindset is like an achiever's mindset, because when you begin to be hard on yourself, everything falls apart. If you say to yourself, I did 5 minutes today, and that is awesome. Like that is such an achievement. You pat yourself on the back and you move on. And and I think many people get stuck on, if I don't do this 2 hours of meditation or this, they get hard on themselves, and I think that's detrimental. So thank you for letting our audience know that you must listen to yourself, to your environment, to what's going on in your life in order to make the adjustments you need to.
Even transitioning into motherhood, whether you're younger, and I felt like almost being older, the transition was difficult because you said you're so used to just taking care of yourself. You're alone, even if you have a husband. But this this being that's in the room that's constantly at you. Tanya can relate. She's got her child.
Yeah, I literally have my child with me as we speak, and he's kind of waking up. Thank you so much for being with us, Gail. We really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's adorable.
Thank you, Gail.
Thanks again for tuning in. Check out the links in the description, and please subscribe, follow, and share. And continue to be omnipresent.